Today on the show, we're talking about how to be thankful. Thankful where you're at, even when life isn't going the way you want it to. We're also going to talk about how to have an attitude of gratitude, which I know I need, and maybe you do too. That's coming up on See Hear Love.
You are seen, you are heard, you are loved by God. You're not alone, you're fully known, you are loved by God.
Well, welcome back to See Hear Love, where we are on location at the beautiful Tyndale University College and Seminary in Toronto in front of a live audience. You guys can clap. Woo! And for the students in there, I was informed that you are not skipping class. Is that right? Okay. Glad that you're here. We've got a great show for you today because we're going to be talking all about cultivating a posture and attitude of thankfulness and gratitude, even when life is hard and it isn't going the way we had imagined. So I'm so glad we have Cheryl here to share her thoughts, and Lisa. We can clap for them too, you guys. Woo! And we have some special guests that I'm so excited are here. I'm going to say it even though you told me not to. Reverend Doctor, or Dr. Reverend Tim Tang. Yes. Yay! Director of Tyndale Intercultural Ministry, and you are an English pastor at a Chinese church in Toronto.
Yes.
Welcome.
Thank you.
It's great to have you here. And you were with us a year or 2 years ago on the show.
I think it was 2 years ago.
2 years ago.
Yes.
And we actually brought you back.
And I made it back.
Yes, he did.
That's great. And to my right, Kevin Kirk, VP of External Relations and Chief Enrollment Officer at Tyndale. You've been in post-secondary, clap? Sorry, what a miss for me. Been in post-secondary education for over 25 years? Mm-hmm. You started when you were?
Very young.
Very young.
Yes.
Married with 4 sons, and glad to have you here.
Good to be here.
Now, clearly we are Tyndale University stacked right
Come on.
Totally.
Like, we just realized, and when I say stacked, I mean like you guys work here. Cheryl, you're an alumnus.
Yes.
I'm an alumnus, and you are?
I'm currently a DMin student here.
Wow!
And Tim and I are alumni as well.
Yes.
We're
Well,
all alumni.
What does
We should have a Go Tyndale.
Yeah,
right
go
now.
Tyndale. But what does that
Right.
say about Tyndale? Look at the quality of people
And the diversity.
and the diversity.
And the
diversity.
That's right.
Good work, Tyndale. How do you feel about that? What's your thoughts about seeing this, Kevin?
Well, this is amazing. I mean, like you said, there's such diversity here, even on this panel, let alone what's happening out here with our students.
Yeah.
It's just incredible. That's what makes Tyndale very unique, is just the diversity and what all of our alumni are doing around the world.
That's us.
Yay.
You were gushing about
Yep.
us, yeah.
Yes, totally.
So let's get started because, we're celebrating Thanksgiving. We want to learn from one another about what it takes, what it means to cultivate an attitude of gratitude and thankfulness. So I want to start off with our news and views because I think this is an interesting survey that the John Templeton Foundation did. 2,000 people from varied backgrounds, diverse backgrounds like ourselves. And this is what they found out from these people about gratitude. Almost half those express gratitude on a daily basis to immediate family. So half of the 2,000. Less than 15% express daily gratitude to friends or colleagues. I don't know why I was looking at the two of you, but 35% said their bosses never thank them. Women were more grateful than men. And 18 to 24-year-olds express gratitude less often than any other age group in the survey. And being religious was associated with greater feelings of gratitude. Your initial thoughts on those findings on this survey on gratitude? Anything that just really popped out at you about that? Interesting or not so interesting?
Like a resounding yes to all of it. And I feel that really deep connection to that religious piece at the end. I feel like knowing God and having a connection relationship with God kind of innately gives you this piece of gratitude. Seeing through a different lens, appreciating things, even storms, good, bad, but just having that sense of the fact that you are a small part in this bigger picture. Yeah, it helps a lot.
So that didn't surprise you?
It didn't surprise me.
No, it
Yeah.
didn't.
What I found interesting was that it was about expressing gratitude. So it doesn't tell you whether the person was actually feeling grateful on the inside, and even if you are, you have to say it in order for it to be received and people to feel appreciated.
So when you're saying, so half of them express gratitude to immediate family. So you're saying, what are you saying?
I think we sometimes take it for granted. Oh, of course they know that I'm thankful.
Oh, right. So you actually need to tell.
Yeah, that expression.
So I was impressed
Yes.
That's
Oh, really? I felt like it was
Really, I thought that
not
was
good.
low because it was almost
Oh, yeah?
half.
Hence-
I
But
thought
on a
it was
daily-
low.
on a
Women are more
I
grateful
thought
and we
it was high
express
too.
it more.
Yeah.
See,
So, yeah,
there's
later on.
yeah, right there.
Yeah.
So why did you think that was so high, Tim?
Oh, I don't on it because it was on a daily basis.
Yeah.
Like 50%, was it?
Almost,
Almost
yeah.
50% expressing gratitude on a daily basis. I don't know. When you think about your family, I don't know. Maybe just my
Do
family.
you have teenagers?
I have. I'm not gonna say how many teenagers, but I have a few teenagers, and life just gets busy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so oftentimes, especially on a daily basis, I mean, other than negotiating schedules and rides and who's feeding who and who's getting a ride to
Life, yeah.
like getting to the point of communicating gratitude. I'm impressed. I mean,
Yeah,
like
okay.
Yeah, yeah.
maybe I should be in humility here that we don't express enough gratitude.
Good.
But,
That's your initial thought for this.
Yeah, that's
Well, and if you contrast that with the 15% that express gratitude to friends and colleagues, see, that seems backwards to me because on a daily basis, we tend to spend more time
Right.
with our friends and
Right.
colleagues.
Right.
So why are we not expressing gratitude to those that we're spending the most time with,
Yeah.
whereas with family, we do make the time?
That's actually a good question.
And
That's
can-
our next question because I just want to say one that stuck out to me was women were
That's
more
right. That's
grateful
right.
than men.
You're the
women
enemy, girl.
clap in the
Go ahead.
audience, yay! And all the men are like,
Yeah.
all the men are running out and
Yeah.
like, thank you, everybody.
But I wanted to unpack why do we think that is, Melinda? Why do you think that is?
Why women are more grateful?
Yeah.
Oh, that's a good question. I don't know. I think that, like, I would say, well, my husband's in the audience, so I have to be careful what I say. I just think that I sit and I think emotionally about the things. I look around. I'm very much a social person, so I have a lot of girlfriends.
Yeah.
And in those communities and being people and social, it does create that sense of gratitude, of
Yeah.
belonging, of going, wow, I'm very thankful for what I
Yeah.
have.
I have this other sort of darker other side. I'd
Oh, you have a darker flip side.
Yeah,
Okay.
I just wonder. Sometimes I feel like men are not as connected emotionally, and sometimes men view emotion as weakness.
So you're saying that
That,
maybe
yeah.
that could
So
be
this
part
whole
of it.
sort of like, I appreciate you, I thank you. They're like, come on, just
Yeah.
right,
Yeah.
just buck up.
So it's not even a matter of them being thankful or not thankful. It's just the expression of it.
Yeah, like taking the time. Why do I have
Yeah.
to appreciate everything? Like,
Right.
Get on with it.
yeah, right.
And then this one just quick. The 18 to 24-year-olds express gratitude less often than any other age. Gen Xers or boomers less. 18 to 24-year-olds.
I think
What
they
is that
weren't
about?
taught it. I don't think they were taught it.
Oh, interesting. So the
'cause-
boomers didn't teach them.
Yeah, and I mean, we're so hard on the upcoming generation. Like, they're so selfish, they're so ungrateful. It's like, well, who do you think they learn from?
Right.
Right? And so I think they were just not taught that kind of mentality. I think also it's just they're going through a lot of changes and a lot of angst. So you're just naturally more self-absorbed,
Must-
like I was.
I'm with
Yeah.
you.
Right?
Politeness,
Yeah.
kindness,
Yeah.
like the things that we take for granted. Yeah.
So for those that were saying the millennials, this is a perfect show for them to learn about gratitude
Yeah.
and thankfulness. Good thoughts. I really like those because I think these are important even for us to take a moment to think about, wait a second, maybe I need to express more thankfulness towards our colleagues and maybe more to our family and our teenagers and and encourage our millennials. So great thoughts.
Well, now let's go to one-on-one with Melinda as she talks with Dr. Gary Nelson, President and Vice Chancellor of Tyndale University, and they're going to talk about the importance of gratitude and community. Up next.
I think if I change my thinking, I could continue to make an impact.
Listen to this episode on the See Hear Love podcast to hear the backstory of the show.
You're never good right away. It never clicks right away. It's practice.
Join us on Apple Podcasts.
Gary, I'm so glad that I finally get to chat with you today. It's been a long time coming, you know that. I wanted to talk with you, and especially on this topic about cultivating a life of gratitude and thankfulness. Now, I know you're only a few years older than me, so you know.
That's very good.
Wasn't that
Thank
kind
you.
and gracious?
That
of me?
was very good.
And
I like that.
I know that I can learn a few things about that. So what have you found in your life personally about cultivating a life of thankfulness and gratitude?
You know, from my perspective, it's about trying to understanding life, not just living in the moment, but having perspective. I often think about the Psalms, for instance. The psalmist is able to move from when he's really frustrated to kind of a praise and gratitude, all in the same psalm. Like at one point he's saying, "Where are you?" And then in the next moment he's saying, "Well, I thank you for who you are." And I think for me it's about perspective. I think for me it's about having a long-term view, and I think the challenge in this day and age is we're so present related that gratitude is hard to live by.
That's good. Because my next question was, it's so easy for us to be ungrateful, entitled, stuck in our present circumstances,
Right.
that we then tend to be miserable and say, there's nothing to be thankful for. Look at my life.
Right.
You know, I want to remain the victim. I want to be upset. How do you not go down that path?
Yeah, Ronald Rolheiser has this great line. He says that that gratitude is actually a sign of spiritual maturity. And if that's so, then spiritual maturity is about kind of embracing the fullness of life. It means not just the good things that happen to us, but how do I learn to be grateful in the midst of the deserts that I'm in my life? And how do I learn to get the perspective to be able to look beyond and know that this is not the way it has to be? Someone one time said the problem of pain is about perspective as well. Like you take a hammer, you hit your thumb, and if you've never hit your thumb before with a hammer, you think it's never going to go away.
Yeah.
But the truth is, if you've had that before, you know it does end. You may lose a nail, but you'll survive. And I think that's part of that long-term view, and that's what Rolheiser says. It's when you embrace the fullness of life that you actually begin to be able to live a life of gratitude.
Along with people and community, how has faith played a part in creating and cultivating a life of thankfulness?
Oh, it's everything. I mean, like for me, I became a Christian in university, and in doing so, for me, it wasn't about becoming aware of my sinfulness. Maybe that's a bad thing to say. I became aware of my pointlessness of the life I was living. And so for me, it was Christ who gave me a sense of purpose and wonder about that life could be actually something more than what I had ever envisioned.
What does that look like, Gary, for the person who's listening and watching and saying, my life is pointless, and you're telling me to be thankful when my life is really hard, and there's a disconnect? What's the first step? What do we reframe or change to help that person?
Oh, gosh. I would think the first thing you change is that whole idea. I mean, one of the most important things that I learned was that I'm secured in Christ. I'm holy and dearly loved. To know I'm the beloved of Christ means everything to me, even in the darkest times of my life.
Wow. Well, I am so thankful for you. Thankful for the work that you're doing here at Tyndale and in leadership and in culture. So thank you so much, Gary.
Thanks. It's great to be here. Great to have you here on campus.
Thank you. You know, I've always wanted to interview Gary Nelson. And finally, I had the opportunity, and it was really great because actually I wasn't quite sure how he would respond, but he did a great job, as you saw in the interview. Your initial thoughts, any of you, that what he said really resonated with you about gratitude or thankfulness?
Well, he talked about perspective. That when you have an experience for the first time, it seems like it's the worst thing in the world because you don't know what the outcome is going to be. But then the next time you experience it, you're better prepared to know where you're going. And so it's when you look back and you think about being able to express gratitude, it's easier as you gain perspective, as you have more and more life experience or have gone through some things. That stuck with me.
Yeah, I like that.
And he touched on maturity, spiritual maturity, being related to how, thankfulness and having that heart. And for me, listening to that, obviously a little bit of self-examination. Well, how mature am I spiritually to be able to be truly thankful about my life and the experiences that I'm having and going through?
Yeah.
So on one hand, a reflection myself, but then to think, well, yeah, what does it mean for us to live life more, to really have a deeper understanding of what life and what God's given us and being thankful for it?
Yeah, I like that. So as we celebrate Thanksgiving, I'll just throw it out there. What are you most thankful for?
I'm gonna say right off the top, I just see them in front of me, my husband and my family, because I thought that I would be raising this family, and in many ways they raised me in so many aspects of my life. My children have taught me so much about who I am and who I need to be, and I learned so much from them. They continue to take me through school, and so I am better having had a family and having been a mom. And there was a time when I literally could never see that as my future, just where I was, the idea of being a mom and having, so this creating of people
Yeah.
and sending them
Yeah.
out into the world and pouring into them the love of God and almost connecting them to the Father. It's an amazing gift.
It's good.
Yeah.
It's great.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I was thinking about my kids specifically.
Yeah.
You know, they even with them moving into the teenage years, I still look at them with delight, and I know that no matter how much they mess up or when they do things that I'm just like, just have to shrug your shoulders. there's still a joy that when you watch them make mistakes, when you watch them do things that are glorious as well. You know, there's just a sense of thankfulness that comes to me every time I look at them, and my wife is in
Yeah.
family together. All together.
Beautiful. Beautiful. Love that.
Well, there's a bit of a theme going here
Yeah.
because obviously family is the first thing that comes to mind. But you know, I think maybe I would couch it just a little bit differently to say sort of this sense of calling or this sense of purpose. Because first, I've been called to be a husband and a father, but God has also called me to serve Him in other areas. So sometimes we get caught up on the ministry and we think it's all about that, and we forget that our first calling is actually to our spouses and to our families and so on. So it's this sense of purpose is what God has done and prepared us for.
Yeah. It's good. I like that.
I'm thinking about my parents and just the people that are around you. My parents, because immigrant life is never easy. And then when you're growing up, you're just so busy growing up that you don't really appreciate. As you age, you understand how difficult it was in that day and age to come and make a life, not know the language, the discrimination, the heartaches, the marital strain, all that stuff. And because they did that, I don't have to. And hence, we have the opportunities. I'm grateful for the students that I have shaped me. And I'm actually also grateful for the right people that aren't always good people in your life, because they shape you in a different way. And those challenges, once you get over yourself, you realize all the flaws in you. And that, I've always appreciated that as I age. Yeah.
I would say, and I've said this over and over about, what I'm thankful for the most. Obviously, it's people. I've talked about, what adoption means and being thankful for decision making of a young girl to go through with the pregnancy and have me. I also am very thankful for the mentors and many people in Canada who saw me and said, I see the potential in you and I believe in you, and so I'm going to give you an opportunity. And so I'm so thankful for people, for my husband who's here in the audience, for my mom and dad, for my birth mom, and for all the people that saw something that I didn't see in me and said, we see it, we'll risk putting you in places in media and things where you have no background or no expertise, but we believe in you, so go for it. And I think I want to encourage that message to everybody of why I'm here today, so that thankfulness of people believing in me and seeing me. So beautiful. It's all about people, eh?
Yeah.
And it's funny because we strive so much about getting things and success and saying those are going to things that are going to make me happy. I'll be very thankful, God, when I win the lottery or when and every one of us said, it's all family and people.
Yeah.
Those are the real treasures.
Yeah, really are. After talking about the things that you're thankful for, how would you say you personally cultivate a posture of gratitude and thankfulness?
Oh.
Now, you can be honest, because it might not happen all the time, but what does that look like? And maybe give some practical tools or something that we can say, okay, I could try that. Who wants to go ahead and give us their wise wisdom? I'm looking at Tim, and Tim's sort of like going, huh? What?
Yeah.
Wisdom? I think about daily practice. I do see giving thanks as a discipline, that it's just a routine that you need to build up daily. It's a muscle that needs to be built up.
Yeah.
You know, whether, my background a little bit in I did a kinesiology degree before theology. So with athletics, it's practice. When I took piano lessons, it was practice. You're never good right away. It never clicks right away. And yet over time, when you go through it, even when you're terrible at it, it is that daily practice of giving thanks in some way or another, counting your blessings, as cheesy as that might sound for some people. By doing so, you're doing something to your heart, to your soul, to your mind. I mean, I could go even further into there's neurological ways of how it affects you when you give thanks, even when it's difficult to, and it affects you.
And well, how would you do that? Like just speaking it out loud as you're washing the dishes, or what would that look like?
I'm not as outwardly expressive. So
You're not?
So it is internal for me.
Yeah.
When I'm in the shower, when I'm alone. Definitely those are reflective times for me that I'm intentional about thinking through certain things that I'm thankful for.
Yeah, that's good. I like that. Now I'm external, so I'd probably be saying them out loud. Yeah. Okay. Gotcha.
When I'm thinking about my parents, of course you say thank you to them, you say thank you to God, and it's got to translate. Like, we talked about maturity here. So, when you're 16 years old, thank you for driving me to school, or thank you for taking me to the driver's test. As you get older, those roles expand, and it should. And there's a way you carry yourself with your parents. There's a kindness in the words. There's taking some of the responsibilities, financial, emotional, otherwise. And I think it's great to say it, and people's love languages are different. And then there's like, you start considering them in the little things, their schedule, their time, their finances, their emotions, how they're not just part of my world, these are real lives coming together. And I find that for me, I'm grateful for that, and I'm grateful for just that being taught that by the people around me, that you need to consider others. And that's a line from the Bible. You need to consider others better than yourselves.
So cultivating, what you're saying then, Lisa, is cultivating an attitude of gratitude is being other-centered.
Yeah, you have to show it.
Okay,
and you have to be considerate.
Yeah,
yeah.
That's good.
Can I quote Ferris Bueller?
Absolutely. Bueller.
Very spiritual
Bueller.
moment
Ferris
right
Bueller.
now. Very.
Great philosopher.
You're the great Ferris Bueller.
Life is busy. So if we don't stop and look around once in a while, we will miss it.
Yes.
And so it's getting out of the busyness. It's getting intentional, as Tim said, about actually stopping and building margins, building time into your life. They get focused on other things, gratitude, appreciation, spending time with those that you should be spending time with, that we often neglect. And that could be, sending notes, even if it's a messenger
little
post,
things.
or it could be, the ancient art of writing a card.
What?
Or,
Writing?
any
Writing.
of those kinds of things. But it's being intentional. And as you develop that mindset, and as you do that more and more, for us guys, your inward thoughts, you do that enough, I think you start to express that a little bit more naturally. Right?
That's a good point, Kevin, because I think a lot of times we just run through life so quickly that if we actually waited a moment and took a moment and looked around at all that we have and all that we've done and how far we've come, I think we'd be in awe of like, wow, there's a lot to be thankful for.
Oh, yeah.
Even in the hardship, even in the worst times of my life, I remember sitting there and going, I'm at the end of my life, this is the worst thing that could have happened. And yet I'm like, but I'm still breathing. I'm still here.
Yeah.
I think if I change my thinking and choose to move forward, I could continue to make an impact. So it's like you're stopping to look around and be more aware and present in where you are and what you have.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, it's good.
Yeah.
That's
I
good.
think there's moments in life where,
No.
God culls and prunes those things in your life, because when you have health, you're not grateful for it.
Yeah.
You have a fever for one weekend, you're like, I just want to be able to just get out of bed.
Yeah.
And so I think these tough moments in life, it's God's way of cultivating that you really think you deserve this kind of thing.
I want to piggyback off what you said. I call it, I have this phrase, I call it spiritual amnesia. And you've heard me talk about this before, but I just feel like gratitude comes out of curing that. And what is spiritual amnesia? It's forgetting all of the things that God has done for us, the moments that He rescued us. Think about the pattern that we have. Storm hits, we cry out, we're desperate, we're frantic. God answers, God recovers, God rescues. We celebrate, we testify, we remember for a minute. The next storm comes and we go right back to God, where are you?
Yeah.
Not even like, are you listening, but like day one, new faith questions, like, are you there? And so I want to encourage people, I feel like gratitude, until you can master it, just have a spiritual memory. Can you remember what God has done? And if He has done it before, and this seems similar, feels similar, looks similar, He'll do it again.
And for me, it's finding a way to remember. Like, not everyone's going to be a list person, but in the Bible, it talks about God's people building monuments to remember certain moments.
Right.
So, I mean, we don't have to build a statue or something every single time something good happens, but what is it in your life that will symbolize
good.
that?
Yeah.
Maybe it is a little picture or a stone that you remembered from that time in your life. But like, I need those symbols. I need those symbols to remind me that when I walk by, it's like, oh yeah, that.
And God commands that to His people, because He knows that we get spiritual amnesia. He reminds me, tells them to do it.
Kevin, the last word on this. What would you say as far as just call it fair? Did you say Ferris?
No.
Bueller? I literally heard Ferris. I'm like, Bueller? Where am I? Just as an encouragement, cultivating gratitude for those, listening and watching. What would be your encouragement on this Thanksgiving Day?
Well, you need to be intentional, right? It's not something, it's a choice. So if you're sick and at that moment it's your worst thing in the world for you, there's something to be grateful for. Thank you for this hot cup of tea.
Yeah.
Thank you for, the air conditioning or the heat that I have so that I can be comfortable. There's always something to be thankful for, but it's being intentional and finding it. And so it's developing that muscle and not developing amnesia. It's the memory and cultivating that daily.
It's really good. Well, I'm thankful for you guys today. I think, I've learned a few things here, and I think that I'm going to practice those things as we celebrate Thanksgiving, as we're with our family, this week, to say, well, slow it down. Let's have a moment and be thankful for how far God has taken us, how far He'll take us, how far we've come. And anyway, thanks so much for being here. Happy Thanksgiving.
Yes, happy Thanksgiving.
Well, great thought. So we're now going to go to Joanna, who's standing by, who's going to share a Bible verse from the Good Word that will encourage us to cultivate an attitude of gratitude.
Sign up to be part of our See Hear Love community, where you can get weekly newsletters, exclusive content, event invites, and more. Sign up at seehearlove.com/newsletter.
Mel, thanks so much. I'm loving the conversation we're having today on location. It's amazing to think about gratitude and how it can change our perspective. So we can also look to the scriptures about what the Bible says. What does God say about gratitude, what it looks like in the life of a Christian? It says in Colossians 3:15-17. I love it in the Message how it explains it. Let the peace of Christ keep you in tune with each other, in step with each other. None of this is going off and doing your own thing. Cultivate thankfulness. Let the word of Christ, this message, have the run of the house. Give it plenty of room in your lives. Instruct and direct one another using good common sense. And sing your hearts out to God. Let every detail in your lives, words, actions, whatever you're doing, be done in the name of our Master Jesus, thanking God the Father every step of the way. Do you notice in this verse the context of thankfulness, the context of gratitude, the context of a person who has their attitude of gratitude is that it's in community. We can't do gratitude by ourselves. It actually has to be directed at someone or something. We're thankful for someone or for something. And so the life of gratitude is done in the context of a community. It's done certainly in our relationship with God as we give thanks to God, no matter our circumstances, for all that He has done for us. But also, it's done in the context of a community of people who are encouraging each other on, spurring each other on, reminding each other of, even in the most difficult situations, there is something to be grateful for. I don't know what's going on in your life, but maybe you are recognizing that you're living more in a life of resentment or bitterness than gratitude. Maybe you're realizing that this is a concern for you. I encourage you to write down today 3 things that you're grateful for, and maybe post them on social media as a way to share them with community or share them with a friend today. I want to send this conversation back to Mel on location so we can wrap up this show.
Thank you, Joanna. I love that part that you said, thank God every step of the way, in that line in that verse in Colossians. That really is a perfect verse as we go into Thanksgiving. And thank you, Kevin. I was going to say Kevin, Tim. I was going to say Bueller and Ferris. I didn't know what I was doing. Got all confused.
I love it.
Thank you for your thoughts and for your great work here at Tyndale. And Cheryl and Lisa, thank you as well. I really hope you have a great Thanksgiving as well.
You too.
Well, here's my takeaway. It's actually kind of really off script, but cultivating gratitude is a direct link to your overall happiness. So don't worry, be happy. Sing your heart out in Colossians, as it says. Let Christ and His message of love and peace have run of your house. No more spiritual amnesia. Breathe and be thankful. And so from all of us here at See Hear Love and from our live audience, always remember that you are seen, heard, and loved by God. Happy Thanksgiving! Woo! Happy Thanksgiving? Happy Thanksgiving!
Happy Thanksgiving.
We're going to do that again. I forgot we didn't prep you, so let's.
As
I'm saying it, I'm like this. Remember?
Melinda's Hair by Paolo Marola. Melinda's Clothing sponsored by Denise Boutiques. Clothes for every woman. Shopdenise.ca.
Deeks Insurance is a proud sponsor of the See Here Love Studio.